our government's official position is not to speculate on this subject. We can choose to let our minds explore other possibilities, to use our imaginations. For if we consider that astroscientists agree on one point, that the possibility of life elsewhere is not only quite probable, some feel it is there without a doubt. Let us suppose then that these objects are real space vehicles, extraterrestrial in origin, and not an illusion of the mind.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.
Welcome to Somewhere in the Live Stream. I am your host, Ryan Sprague. And guys, we're going to start with a bombshell tonight. A bombshell unlike any we've ever had on the live stream before. I don't even know if all of the mainstream news outlets got this before me. I've seen very little chatter about it on UFO Twitter, on Twitter in general, on any social media, not on the mainstream news, nothing. So I'm going to pull up this image for you and just be prepared. I wanted to give you a warning that you might go into ontological shock when you see this. So here we go. Robert Downey Jr. is back in the MCU, playing Dr. Doom. What is going on? What is going on? I'm sorry, guys. I had to. I know a lot of you are probably tuning out already because of that, but I thought this was newsworthy. I think it's amazing. Dr. Doom is my all-time favorite villain in the Marvel comic book universe, and hopefully in the future Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we got word at San Diego Comic-Con yesterday that he will be playing Dr. Doom after being the most iconic Iron Man and carrying the entire MCU for so long. So I want to know what you guys think about this casting choice in the Marvel Universe. Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom. I am going to read a few. I posted about this on Facebook, so I lied. It is all over social media. It's all over everywhere. And I did want to get a couple of the comments in here. I asked if this is desperation on the part of the MCU, or if this is a genius creative business move. I already see James Craig saying unsubscribed in the chat. I love it. Bruce Pretty over at Facebook said desperate. Don said trying to figure out how they're going to pull this off. Yeah, I agree. Eric says remains to be seen. It's some multiverse stuff where they're going to bring back Iron Man. We'll see. Yeah. Let me see. Chris Susi says, I'm all right with it so long as Doom wears that mask as consistently as the comic book version does. That is such a good point because, as we know in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when you get an A-list celebrity, you will see them with the mask off as much as possible because they're paying for the face of that A-list celebrity, not to be in some, silver mask the entire time. But we all know we've seen Robert Downey Jr.'s face for over, almost 2 decades at this point. So I would look forward to what he could do with a mask on 100% of the time as Dr. Doom and just see what characterization he gives that. So there you go with that. Let me see. Fate Darrington says Thanos and Cable are both Josh Brolin, and one actor playing many characters used to be a big thing back in the day. So there you go. Yeah, it's been done before. So who says it can't be done again? I've got like hundreds of comments, guys. I'm not going to go through them. I will spare you because we have a lot to talk about in the UFO world, but I just had to. I had to. So thank you for dealing with that with me. I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. James Craig is here. Anomaly is here. I think James Craig is here. He might be gone. Ian Smith is here. Good morning, UFO is here. Super Chuckles is here. Donnie Falls. Robert Chafee. Melissa's here. Dell. Tron. Audio Murphy. Rebecca's here. Jim is here. Melissa's here. All right, the biologist. Hello, biologist. Hello to Dalen, Metal Hendrix, the cat's on holiday. I love that name. Great handle, great handle. Chameleon UK, Mike Rubino, TETS is here, Terry is here, David is here. Wow, we got a lot, guys. This is awesome. We are going out on Twitch. We're out on Twitter. We're out on Facebook. So it doesn't surprise me that we might have a few more viewers this time. I don't know why I wasn't going out on Facebook before, but I am now. So I don't know if your comments will show up if you're watching this on Facebook. We'll have to see how that goes. But we shall see. We shall see. Hello to Ross as well. Okay, guys. Before we get to the first news story, I do want to let you know that Suzanne and I, my moderator, Suzanne, we've been doing live podcast recordings. We did 2 this past week, where the podcast episodes that come out every Monday, we're now doing those interviews live right here on the channel. So if you're interested in more live content from our channel, you can now tune in and you'll actually hear our podcast interviews before everybody else right here on YouTube. So make sure you turn on notifications, subscribe if you're not already, click like on the videos as well. That always helps. And yeah, you'll be the first to see and hear our interviews before anyone else. And yeah, we thought we'd give it a try and it's going over amazing. So, this past week we had Grant Levac, the Australian UFO researcher. And then we also had Earl Grey Anderson, a state director of Southern California for MUFON. So yeah, we've got some more coming up in the coming weeks as well. So be on the lookout for that. Again, turn on notifications right here on the channel. And don't forget to hit like the biologist says. Thank you, guys. Last thing before we start with the news, if you would like to help the channel out, Suzanne was kind enough to put up the super chat and super sticker banner there for you guys. That is the easiest way to help out the show immediately. You can put questions for me that we will get to at the end of the show. And the easiest way for me to see those is for you to put them in the super chat. And I will definitely be sure to see those. And you're also supporting all the endeavors we do here. As I say every week, all of this is free for you guys to consume, whether it's the live stream or the podcast, but it is not free for me to create. So every little bit helps. Every single penny goes right back into helping us here at Somewhere in the Skies headquarters here in Scotland. So yeah, you can help us out that way, or you can join our Patreon campaign where you get bonus episodes of the podcast, early access to the shows, priority to ask our guests that we interview, priority to ask them questions. So you go right to the top of the list and your questions will always be asked. So if you would like to help the show that way and get rewards in return, just head on over to patreon.com/somewhereskies. That's it, guys. If you can't help us monetarily, just click like, click subscribe, like I said before. All right, let's get to our first news story of the night. And I'm going to bring in our slideshow here. And we're going to start with a space story. This is pretty cool. Well, I shouldn't say cool, but it's interesting. It's interesting. So I don't know if you guys have been following this in the mainstream news, but we got some stranded astronauts out there right now. And it's getting a little I guess tension filled as the days go on and on and on, and these astronauts are not able to come back to Earth. So I'm going to go ahead and read from this story that came out from NBC, and then we're going to play a brief clip to catch you up on this story as well. So the headline here was "No Return Date for NASA Astronauts Amid Problems with Boeing Starliner Capsule." So it would appear that Boeing planes aren't the only ones having issues. The space capsules up there are as well. So Sunita Williams and Barry Butch Wilmore are the current NASA astronauts who have been stuck on the ISS, which is the International Space Station, indefinitely, while NASA and Boeing determine what went wrong with their spacecraft. So they were up there doing missions on a spacecraft. They were supposed to come back to Earth on said spacecraft, and that spacecraft has been malfunctioning. So they're kind of just hanging out at the ISS right now, which I'm sure the people on the ISS are thrilled to have new faces there. I know that these two are already helping with all the tasks and chores that need to be done on the regular on the ISS. So I'm sure the others are loving having some help with that. So that's cool. But I'm going to go ahead and play this clip and then we'll talk a little bit more about what's going up there in just a little bit. Give this a watch.
NASA astronauts Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore are now 50 days into a mission that was supposed to last only 8.
Please begin the live tour of Starliner.
There's Butch coming in through the hatch.
And thanks to a malfunctioning Boeing Starliner, their extended stay in zero gravity is getting even longer.
And liftoff of Starliner and Atlas V.
Wilmore and Williams launched on a test flight of Starliner June 5th. As they closed in on the International Space Station, the spacecraft sprang multiple helium leaks. Several thrusters stopped working. Engineers are running tests in space and on the ground to figure out what went wrong. But NASA says they need more time before announcing a return date.
We're making great progress, but we're just not quite ready to do that.
NASA believes Starliner can still get the astronauts home, but the agency also says it's working on backup plans, which could include calling on a Boeing competitor, a SpaceX Dragon capsule.
The beauty of having Dragon and Starliner and two different diverse space transportation systems is we can kind of use those as backups.
NASA says the astronauts remain in good spirits.
It feels good to float around. It feels good to be in space and work up here with the International Space Station teams.
Boeing, which has been under fire over problems with its 737 MAX airplanes, says Starliner can handle the mission.
I'm very confident we have a good vehicle to bring the crew back with.
The question now is when.
Yes, the question indeed is when. No, Sunita looked okay. She looked in good spirits, but I'm telling you, looking at Barry Butch Wilmore on her side there, he looked a little like, I'm over it. I want to go home. I mean, an 8-day mission. Come on, now 50 days long. Like, that's got to wear on you a little bit. But, you know, these astronauts are trained for the, the most volatile of situations, with a million contingency plans in the whole, I guess, is a way you could put it. So, and they take constant psychological tests as well to make sure that they are ready if a situation like this arises. So I'm sure they will be fine. But it's a little scary, to be honest, like not knowing for sure that you're going to come home. I mean, NASA's pretty sure they can make it happen. But Jeffrey says, call Musk. This is getting ridiculous. I know, man, who would have thought? Elon Musk to the rescue. I do want to give a shout out to Jim with the super sticker. Thank you so much. Thank you to Disclosure Team. Thank you so much, Vinny. Appreciate that, my man. And also to Ian Smith, our fellow friend here in the UK. Really do appreciate that, guys. Yeah, so let me read a little bit more here. They covered a lot of it in that brief clip. But Williams and Wilmore arrived at the space station on June 6th for what was supposed to be the 8-day mission. It's now stretched to 3 days at this point. The delay is because of the fact that during their approach to the station, 5 of the thrusters shut off suddenly. And like they said, there was a helium leak as well. So that's a little scary. I'm not going to lie. That is definitely a little scary. So at the briefing this past Thursday, NASA officials still could not say when they would be able to come home. They said that Starliner is probably still healthy enough to fly the crew home, but the decision would be made during an intensive review involving top leadership from NASA and Boeing that could be scheduled as early as this upcoming week. So hopefully sometime this week, we will get an update on when these poor two souls can make it back to Mother Earth. So yeah, there is our first space story of the night, but we are going to, I also want to say thank you to Ian Smith for the 99-pound super sticker. That is incredibly kind and generous of you, my friend. Hi, Ryan. Hope this helps. More than you know, buddy. Every single penny helps, and that is extremely generous of you. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow. Caught me off guard there, my man. Thank you so much. Let's move, guys, to our next story. And this involves Europa in Enceladus. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. These are two moons. This story comes to us from Inverse, and the headline of this story was New Study Reveals that the surface of Europa and Enceladus may contain evidence of alien life. So on Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus, some of that hidden seawater that they have found there finds its way to the surface through geysers or cracks on the ice, and it could contain traces of whatever lives in the alien oceans beneath. The organic material that washes up onto the surface could contain molecules or even whole cells from a hidden alien ecosystem thriving below the ice on both of these moons. According to recent experiments at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, evidence of alien life could be preserved on the surface of Enceladus and just a few inches below the surface of Europa, despite the heavy bombardment of radiation that scours the surface of both moons. On Europa, future missions are planned to cut 8 inches beneath the surface, especially in the high latitudes near the north and south poles of the moon, to look for alien life. And on Enceladus, future missions will just need to scrape away the top fraction of an inch of ice to find usable samples. Here's the catch, guys. The missions are scheduled for the early 2040s. Patience is a virtue, as always. Whenever it comes to these super ambitious missions to other moons or possibly exoplanets, we just got to be patient. So hopefully within our lifetime, we will know if there's life on either of these moons. But it's exciting. It's exciting to know that there's water on all of them. You know, if we are going by what is habitable here on Earth, that means that there could possibly be life on these moons, or there was life on these moons, just like they theorize about Mars as well. Jim says, wasn't there a proposed investigative mission to be sent to Europa several years ago using a radioactive probe to cut down the liquid water beneath the ice? I do recall hearing something about that, Jim. Very good question. I'll have to look into that because I think we actually covered it on the live stream at some point. But yeah, they're always coming up with these harebrained schemes of what they're going to do on these moons and going to check the phosphorus on Venus. And we have to keep in mind the amazing work that is being done by the James Webb Telescope right now, and things like the Galileo Project and SETI now, even getting in on the old techno signature game. So a lot going on, very exciting. And I do think within our lifetime, we will get those first glimpses at maybe microbial life and an even more maybe of intelligent life elsewhere in the universe and beyond. Carrie says, it's exciting. I would have to agree. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you. Thank you. Cool. Let's move, guys, to some UAP news. And this came into my email a couple days ago from the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. I don't know if I must have subscribed to their newsletter or something, because I get all these early press releases, which is awesome. I know they've made it public now, but when I first got this, I was like, ooh, this is so excited. I can't wait till they announce it. And they have, and we're going to announce it here as well. The Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies announces a partnership with the Latin American Academy of Scientific Ufology. This is pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and read right from the press release. So on July 24th, the Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies, or SCU, released the following announcement. The SCU is pleased to announce a partnership agreement with the Latin American Academy of Scientific Ufology, acronym LAASU, and they are located in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And LASU's, let's call it that, LASU's mission is to employ science as the method to understand the phenomenon's reality. LASU comprises a young multidisciplinary team of field and theoretical investigators. The organization offers training courses and procedures to produce peer-reviewed papers for ufology groups in Brazil and the rest of Latin America. The partnership agreement between SCU and LASU is based on a shared process of scientific inquiry into an international phenomenon that is yet to be explained. Robert Powell, SCU co-founder and executive board member, said, quote, SCU is pleased to move our relationship with LASU into a formal partnership. Together, we desire to improve the scientific study of the UAP enigma. And Julio Acosta Navarro, the LASU founder and director, said, quote, the LASU community is very happy and excited about the realization of a partnership agreement between our two organizations with the same goals concerning ufology. It's a small step for our two organizations, but a big step for the study of UAP. So that's awesome, guys. If you don't follow the work of the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, I highly suggest going and checking out their website. I believe it's explorescu.org. And you can learn more about this partnership, what they got going on. They're known to do some extremely detailed and rigorous analysis of the Navy UFO videos, the Homeland Security video that was taken at the Aguadilla, Puerto Rico airport, and just wonderful, wonderful work that they do over there. They put on a sort of a symposium every year as well. So I think this is awesome. Again, branching out to other countries, other continents is really the only way we're ever going to truly understand this global phenomenon. So I think this is awesome. I look forward to hearing how they coexist, the studies that they do together, and everything else. So check out that website that Suzanne has put on the screen for you guys and learn more about SCU and the Latin American Academy of Scientific Ufology. All right, let us move to our next story, guys. And this stays in the sort of UAP study, I guess, realm. And we're going to be talking about the Society for UAP Studies. And they're going to be hosting an online conference on modern UAP. So, founded with the mission to promote academic discourse on the methodology, epistemology, and philosophy regarding unidentified anomalous phenomena, the Society for UAP Studies is comprised of humanists, social and physical scientists, academics, and professionals. The Society is committed to applying rigorous scientific principles and methodologies to the study of UAP, contributing to a greater understanding of these phenomena and their implications for humanity. The Society for UAP Studies announces an upcoming online conference entitled, quote, Varieties and Trajectories of Contemporary UAP Studies, end quote. This event will take place from August 16th to the 18th and will present and discuss the results of ongoing research projects on UAP. The conference represents a significant convergence of minds interested in the study of UAPs. It'll bring together experts from diverse fields to share insights and advance the dialogue on this enigmatic subject. The conference will feature plenary sessions across a wide array of disciplines. Speakers represent an international coalition of scholars and practitioners who study the phenomenon from their specific fields of research. Plenary talks will range from anthropological, philosophical, and religious studies perspectives on UAP to current work being done by physical scientists and engineers involved in establishing rigorous observational protocols and techniques for capturing the physical signatures of UAP. That sounds to me like the Galileo Project, if you ask me. So, if you guys want to take part in this conference, you can register. There is a link right in the show notes that you can visit. And Suzanne has also put it right on the screen there. She is on top of it today. I love it. Suzanne's such a mystery to you guys, isn't she? Ever wonder what she looks like? That might be a little tease for later in the show. She is laughing her butt off. Yes, Suzanne will be joining us later in the show, guys. So stay tuned for that. And stay tuned for the Society for UAP Studies conference. Again, visit that link to learn more. All right. That's going to do it for our first half of the news stories, guys. But don't go anywhere. We have the big stories coming in the second half here. We also have some very interesting podcast highlights of the week. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little commercial break for you guys, and we will be back on the other side to talk all about the latest drama in the UFO field concerning the one and only David Grusch, and so much more. Stay tuned, and we'll see you on the other side. The Somewhere in the Skies podcast is free to listen to every week, but if you would like to help support the show, we have a very active Patreon page where you give what you think the show is worth. In return, you'll get early access to the main show, bonus episodes, and priority to ask our guests your listener questions. Your support truly makes the show continue and grow. So, to learn more and to join, visit patreon.com/somewhereskies. All right, welcome back to Somewhere in the Live Stream, guys. Yes, that was our Patreon. So if you want to help support us, you can go ahead and visit that link in the show notes as well. If you are just joining us, we just covered the latest space news about the stranded astronauts up in space right now on the ISS. We covered possible alien life on Europa and Enceladus. And what else did we already cover? I literally just went through it. The Society for UAP Studies Conference and the coalition happening between the SCU and the Latin American Society for UAP Studies. I think I got their name wrong. Academy of Scientific Ufology. There we go. My apologies. So let's move to some fun entertainment news before we get to the big ones, guys. I don't know if you remember, but I think it was a few weeks ago we covered Steven Spielberg and this announcement that he is going to be making an original movie about UFOs, returning to the days of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This is going to be an original movie directed by Steven Spielberg. And yeah, we don't know much about the plot. We know nothing about the plot, I should say, but we are slowly getting little breadcrumbs here and there about what's going to be going on with this movie. And we recently learned that Emily Blunt, the actress, is going to be featured in this movie. And we now are learning about another lead for the movie as well. And that is none other than Josh O'Connor is going to be joining the cast of the quote-unquote untitled movie. I might have an update on the title of this film. But yes, we now have Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor have joined the cast of Steven Spielberg's UFO movie. The movie is slated to release in May of 2026, so not too long. Just long enough to make a damn good movie. That's what I think. So what else do I have here? Joining will be Josh O'Connor. Do you guys know Josh O'Connor? I know him from The Crown. He played Prince Charles in one of the middle seasons or sections, and he was fantastic. I think he was my favorite Prince Charles throughout the entire run of The Crown. If you haven't watched The Crown, watch it. It's incredible. Absolutely amazing show. So that's what I know him from, but let me know in the chat if you know him from anything else. But what interesting casting, right? I just think these two could do amazing. And what I'm hearing from some of the insider Hollywood scuttlebutt is that this is a two-hander movie. This movie may literally just be these two actors. There might be cameos, there might be people in the background, a few minor speaking roles, but from what I'm hearing, this is going to be more like a play, which is so fascinating to me as a playwright. For many of you who may know or may not know, I am a playwright. That's what I am trained in. I've had productions of my plays all over the world at this point. one of my plays was adapted into a feature film. So I know what it's like to try to put a play into movie, structure, and it ain't easy. So if you have a movie with just 2 actors, that thing needs to be moving quick. Every line needs to be said like it's the last thing they're ever going to say, and there needs to be a lot of action and things going on to propel each character forward when you're only dealing with 2 people. Trust me, it's basically like a death sentence to write a movie with 2 actors. But I commend Spielberg and his writer for doing that. And we should mention his writer on this movie is going to be David Cope, who wrote Jurassic Park and several other of Spielberg's films. So that's awesome. And let me see. Spielberg will be directing, and along with this, he will also be having his longtime collaborator, Christy Krieger, along with him, who produced The Fabelmans and West Side Story. So I just have so much hope for this. I really, really do. Last thing I'll say in the sort of rumor mill on the movie is, according to some insiders, there are rumors that at least the working title right now for the movie is The Dish. I have no idea what that could mean. Satellite dish? Like a dish, 2 dishes put together, making a flying saucer? I don't know. The dish, like the scoop, it could be anything, or it could be absolutely nothing. And a lot of the times, these early rumors of titles of things are working titles. It's something they put there just in place of what the actual title will be, because they don't want that information to get out. They don't want things to leak. So if we know the name of, let's say, Avengers Doomsday, we're going to know that Doctor Doom is going to be making an appearance in that movie. So that's why places like Marvel made that announcement at Comic-Con when they were ready to, and also dropped the major bombshell that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Doctor Doom. So cool. So cool. So yeah, hopefully we will learn more about The Dish in the coming months, if not year. I'm super excited. Are you guys excited? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments below. I'm really excited for that. Gonna go through the chat just a little bit here, guys, before we move on to the 2 major stories of the week and our podcast highlights. Let's see. I love this. Jim says perhaps it's a Mork and Mindy reboot. Nanu. I would love that. Sounds like a survival movie, Donnie says. Interesting. It could be. He's tackled that before with his War of the Worlds. What did you guys think of that? His War of the Worlds. It was so dark. That was like his really dark phase. I remember he did that. What else did he do at that time? I think like Minority Report. Gosh, there was another one that was like super dark that was around that same time period. It's escaping me now, but yeah. Hopefully this one won't be too dark, and I'm hoping it'll cover all the modern day stuff going on. That would be awesome. Like, let's say these 2, Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt, are playing like David Fravor and Alex Dietrich, and we're just following these 2 pilots who encountered a Tic Tac UFO and about coming forward with it and all of that. That would be cool. That'd be cool. Yeah. We will see what happens. We will see what happens. I'm going to go ahead, guys, put this up there for you. I see we have a support through PayPal thing. I've gone ahead and put a barcode right on the screen. You can scan that to get right to our PayPal as well if you do want to help out the show. Never expected, but always appreciated. So thank you again to those of you for the super stickers. It is very much appreciated. I'm going to go ahead and read this. Ian Smith says, "Hi all, I have a home in St. Lucia, Caribbean. I'm going out there for the Christmas break. I have talked my family into having to go at a CE5 as there is no light pollution. I will report back." That's exciting, Ian. Please let us know how that goes, man. That should be pretty cool. Pretty cool. Nisa says, "My mom and I just watched Signs a few nights ago. I love that movie. I love that movie. And it seems like crop circles are kind of coming back, guys. We've had 2 here in the UK in the past, like, 3 weeks. So, I don't know what's going on. Maybe we're gonna see a resurgence of crop circles, or maybe this is in preparation for a sequel to Signs. We shall see. All right. Let's move to our next story here, guys. And this comes to us from none other than John Greenwald at the Black Vault. And this is pretty interesting. U.S. Marine Corps releases UAP information sharing policy to the Black Vault. So, the U.S. Navy and U.S. Marine Corps have released its policy and procedure for sharing UAP-related information with the Department of Defense All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or, as we know it, ARROW. This release follows a Freedom of Information Act request filed by the Black Vault on April 14th, 2024. And I do want to get all this right, guys, so I do apologize for reading right from my script, so bear with me, but I want to get the most accurate information out to you. Sorry, that was probably loud. The FOIA request sought a copy of records, which includes videos, photos, electronic or otherwise, of all records that pertain to the agency's policy and procedures on sharing information with the DoD's ARROW office. This included all policy procedure, memorandum of understanding, memorandum of agreement, letters, other memos, and etc., outlining the Navy's policy on sharing information at any classification level with ARROW. The request also asked for any procedures adopted from prior efforts such as the UAP task force. Wow, that's a throwback. Man, remember that? And the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group, AIMSOG. Oh my God. Those were the sloppy days, weren't they? Before they kind of made it all somewhat cohesive with ARROW, I guess. So this newly released document from the U.S. Marine Corps, dated December 8th, 2023, provides guidance specific to the Marine Corps while aligning with the previously released Joint Chiefs Directive from May. The following are some of the key differences and updates. The directive provided emphasized the role of various combatant commands and services in reporting UAP incidents, requiring standardized reporting templates and transfer of data and materials to ARROW. The Marine Corps document reiterates these requirements, but provides more detailed guidance specific to the Marine Corps. Let's see. The OPRIP-3 SEER is a report used within the U.S. military to provide immediate notification of any significant incident that could attract national-level interest or affect national security. It ensures that high-level leadership are promptly informed about incidents that are substantial in implication. In the context of UAP reporting, this is required for any UAP incident, regardless of mission impacts, to ensure timely and accurate reporting and facilitate appropriate responses. I think I have, there we go. These are some of the samples here. The updated Marine Corps document also includes specific templates for reporting UAP incidents, data transfer, and material disposition, offering more detail geared towards the Marine Corps implementation. These are also similar to the directives previously released. But lastly, both documents stress the importance of notifying counterintelligence elements about UAP events. The Marine Corps document specifies that the Marine Corps Operations Center will notify the service's counterintelligence element within the Deputy Commandant for information about all UAP-related events. Additional releases will be published as they become available at theblackvault.com. Whew, that was a lot. But all of this to say, guys, we're now seeing the fruits of the labors of years of trying to get some sort of policies implemented into each respective military branch, at least here in the United States. The Navy was sort of the first to do it, and good on them. And then we heard nothing from the Air Force for a really long time, which is utterly ridiculous. But now we are understanding and learning about the policies being implemented in reporting UAP by the Marine Corps. So we're getting closer. Corps, not corpse, James said. Yeah, I shouldn't be saying corpse. Thank you. The Marine Corps. Marine Corps. Wow. Who's going to clip that and make me look like an idiot? Suzanne raised her hand. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so either way, pretty interesting. And if anything, we now know that I can't say core. Anomaly says, do you think maybe calling unidentified flying objects anomalous phenomena might confuse people further when discussing the subjects in question? That is a great question, Anomaly. You know, I think in today's world, we are getting so much more accustomed to UAP that it is becoming like second hat. I know not to everyone. There's a large portion of the entire human population who still doesn't know what UAP is. But I think we're slowly getting there. And what I actually like about the term UAP is it broadens the idea of what these phenomena are. If we look at basically the origin of the term UFO, it came from the United States Air Force. It was a term that they coined, unidentified flying object, to sort of downplay the more anomalous phenomena happening in our skies when we're maybe not just dealing with a quote unquote unidentified flying object. I mean, there were reports of just crazy lights being reported, things like the Foo Fighters, or even biological quote unquote UFOs of sorts, UAP, I should say, contradicting myself. So I do like the term UAP. It's really grown on me. So while it may confuse some people, like you said, I think we're slowly getting there. So I use them interchangeably. Honestly, depends on which way the wind's blowing every day. So yeah, I hope that sort of answers your question. That's my personal opinion. Let me see. Everyone's saying Grusch, Grusch. Yes, I know. We'll get there. We'll get there. We're gonna get there right now. Actually, pretty close to it. I'm just checking the chat one more time here, guys. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Hello to Amanda Rose and Kari and J. Ellen Heineken. Dan is here. Jeffrey is here. Mike Cleland is here. Hello, Mike. Good to hear from you, man. I'm not sure if this counts as news, but I started up my podcast again. That's awesome. Guys, if you're not subscribed, Mike, put a link in the show notes, if you will, my friend, and let us know more about the podcast, where we can find it, all that good stuff. I had the pleasure and honor of being on Mike's podcast in the past, so I am looking forward to the return of Mike Cleland. Check out his latest book, too, guys. He wrote a freaking novel. The man is just a machine. I envy his work ethic. Metal Hendrix. Good time to be a UFO enthusiast nerd. Agreed. Agreed, my friend. Tad is here. Hello to Gan. Tad. All work low and low pay is here. Hello, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As always. Okay. So, let's talk about the quote-unquote Grusch elephant in the room. We are learning this past week that David Grusch is back in the news. And it's not for good reasons. At least not for the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. Might be good news for Grusch. We shall see as this story plays out. And that story is UFO whistleblower sues the sheriff's office over record release. This comes to us from the Loudoun Times Mirror. So David Grusch, who recently testified before Congress that the U.S. government was involved for decades in a secret, quote, crash retrieval and reverse engineering program involving UFOs, is suing Loudoun County Sheriff Mike Chapman and an unidentified sheriff's office employee for releasing personal information about him. You guys remember when this happened. The plaintiff, retired Major David Grusch, says in a, quote, $2.5 million lawsuit filed on July 16th in Loudoun Circuit Court that a sheriff's office employee improperly released, quote, highly sensitive personal information about his medical history in response to an FOIA request on July 30th of 2023. In an email to the Times Mirror, Sheriff's Office spokesman said the agency, quote, acted in accordance with the law in responding to the referenced FOIA and disagrees with the allegations filed. So you guys may remember that Ken Klippenstein, then a reporter for The Intercept, filed the records request 4 days after David Grusch testified before the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. That was the, basically, I guess some people would say historical congressional UFO hearing that took place. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see a image of Mr. Grusch at the congressional UFO hearing. I see some friends and colleagues in the audience there too. Oh, memories. So David Grusch told the committee that several current and former members of the intelligence community and military provided him with, quote, photography, official documentation, and classified oral testimony about a crash retrieval program, according to a transcript of his remarks. Grusch said that he filed a whistleblower complaint with the U.S. Office of the Intelligence Community Inspector General and suffered retaliation for his actions. So a sheriff's office employee provided Klippenstein of The Intercept with an incident report detailing why a magistrate in October of 2018 issued an emergency custody order to detain Grusch involuntarily at Innova's Loudoun Adult Medical Psychiatric Services program for a psychiatric evaluation, according to this lawsuit. An ECO allows people deemed by a magistrate to be a danger to themselves or others to be held up to 8 hours for evaluation. A mental health worker who evaluated Grusch sought a temporary detention order for him, but Grusch, quote, was not committed and was consequently released, according to this lawsuit. A TDO allows a person deemed a danger to themselves or others to be held up to 72 hours before a civil commitment hearing. Reports and court documents related to an involuntary admission are excluded from being released under the Virginia FOIA, according to the suit. The defendants had no authority to exercise discretion when releasing information relating to the plaintiff's involuntary admission records, reports, or documents, which the lawsuit says. The disclosure of Klippenstein was prohibited by law. I'll finish up here, guys. This is basically the whole article, so apologies to the Loudoun Times if I'm taking some of your thunder here. The Intercept, an online investigative news site, published an article on August 9th, 2023. That's one day after my birthday, guys. Hint, hint. That included a redacted version of the incident report. It said that David Grusch's wife called the sheriff's office to report that he was, quote, drunk and experiencing a mental health crisis in their home. The couple sold the home in 2019, according to county property records. The article said that security clearances, which Grusch had, are subject to, quote, strict requirements, and questioned why Grusch was allowed to keep his security clearance after the 2018 incident. This lawsuit says that the article by The Intercept caused David Grusch to, quote, suffer personally and professionally. Whew. That was a lot. Very convoluted. I know people fall on, the extreme side of this entire story. Was it right? Was it wrong? Was it legal? Was it illegal? I can't make heads or tails of it, to be completely honest. When the article first came out, I was like, it's pretty shitty of The Intercept to do. But, at the same time, the more I looked into it, the more I thought, oh no, they did everything by the books. Like, this is legal, and it was public records, quote unquote. But now I'm hearing about this lawsuit, and I might be thinking differently, but I don't know. None of us truly know the extent or if he's going to win this lawsuit. But I did put a poll up on YouTube, guys, to get your thoughts on if you think David Grusch will win this lawsuit or not. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to that poll and see what you guys said. Let's see here. Ooh, this is super meta. Ooh, hello. You guys said 58% said yes, he will win. 16% of you said no, he will not win. 23% of you said maybe, and 3% of you said who cares. Crazy. Wow, this is getting super trippy. So I'm gonna get the share screen off of here, but I did want to read that to see what you guys had to say. But I want to get the thoughts of an attorney. So I'm gonna bring in the one and only Suzanne, our moderator, to join us to get her thoughts on all of this and what she thinks. Is this legal? Is this illegal? Is this ethical? Is this moral? All that and everything in between. So, without further ado, here she is, guys. Welcome, Suzanne, for the very first time to Somewhere in the Live Stream. There she is.
Hi, everybody. You got to behave in the chat.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that. Guys, behave. She's busy right now. Suzanne, welcome.
Thank you.
It's so good
to be
finally,
here.
I'm sure all of these people are so happy to finally put a face to the name. I get to see you every time we do this as we prepare for these things. But I remember, you had watched my live streams for a while. You were such a huge supporter of my work. I got to meet you and your husband here in Scotland and talk for a couple hours, which is awesome. And we just clicked.
We
like
did.
that. And, you could tell I was struggling a little bit in trying to keep up with the chats and things going on.
It is a lot.
It's a lot. People don't realize the things we actually do here, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of people do. I want to give them credit for knowing. But you said, hey, if you ever need help, let me know. And I dragged you in, and there's no escaping now. So, yes, I just wanted to say thank you.
And I just want to say what an incredible group our group is. They are so kind to each other in the chat and so knowledgeable, and they're funny as heck too.
They are. We really have such a good group here, a huge group tonight. I can't believe how many people are watching this live.
I see those
That's
numbers.
awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see them. Awesome.
Yeah, they're here for Grusch, the elephant. What did I say? Grusch elephant in the room
Yeah,
hour?
somebody said that. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. That's not as witty as I thought it sounded now that I'm repeating it. Okay. So Suzanne.
Yes.
Without giving away too much about your career and everything, you did work in law for a very long time.
I did for 40 years. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Would you mind? Can you share any of that with us?
Yeah.
What kind of law did you practice?
Sure.
Yeah, anything you want to share with us about that?
Sure. I did two things. I did federal court work under the Hague Convention for children who were abducted internationally. And I worked through the Justice Department in order to get those children returned to whatever country they had come from. Wow. And then I lived part-time in Memphis and part-time in Santa Fe. So my practice was here in Memphis, where I am now. And we did unusual family law, complicated family law trial work in state court as well.
Wow. That must have been, I always say this about jobs like that, whether it's like a social worker or someone who deals with law like that. There was probably some extremely rewarding moments and some heartbreaking moments, I would assume. Like, how do you deal with something like that from day to day? Like, psychologically, emotionally, beyond just professionally, I guess.
Right. It can be really hard, and not every lawyer is cut out to do it. You have to be able to compartmentalize some of that stuff, or you never sleep and you never eat and you worry constantly, and that doesn't help anyone. So you have to learn how to put some of that aside and keep your brain in gear and keep going. And that doesn't mean there aren't tears and sleepless nights anyway. There are lots of worries around it, but I was thrilled. I never had a child not returned where that child needed to be, and so that mattered a lot to me.
That's incredible. Wow.
Thank you.
A career worth its weight in gold. That's amazing.
I am happy to be out from under that stress now, though.
I'm sure.
During the pandemic, and so that made time for Somewhere in the Skies.
Oh, well, that's extremely kind of you. A huge congratulations on that. And we are so unbelievably happy and lucky to have you. That's for sure. So yeah, let's talk Grusch.
Yes,
you and I have been. We've been texting back and forth about this since the story broke. Right. We're not getting many updates as of yet. There's probably not much until this actually goes to like trial and everything. But you were the first person I thought of. I'm like, oh, Suzanne knows law, obviously, 40 freaking years. I know it's probably a lot different from the sort of law you practiced. I have a cousin as well who I thought about reaching out, but I'm like, he wouldn't this isn't the kind of stuff that he dealt with. But I'd love to know, just, tangentially, what are your thoughts on this case? Do you think this will actually go to court? And 2.5 million, that's nothing to shake a stick at. Huge, broad, sweeping question. What do you make of this entire story from a legal perspective?
I think it's really interesting, and every trial lawyer looking at it has to ask themselves, why is this happening right now? Why is it happening, and why is it happening now? And it seems to me, because, and I say that because, these incidences were around a 2014 and a 2018 set of calls to the Loudoun County Police Department. And because the wife was apparently scared and he was intoxicated. And I wonder if there was more to it, like perhaps thinking about ending his life or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it scared her and she made these phone calls. And here's what happens when the police are involved in that way. That is a different animal than someone calling and saying, my neighbors are beating up on each other. They're in a fight. Somebody needs to come help. That's its own thing. That's a public record. The minute mental health or drugs and alcohol get involved, it is a different animal. And that is federally protected under HIPAA and some other rules. And it's protected in almost every state in the country. So what happened was the wife was trying to get what's called a temporary detention order. They're not really easy to get. So something big has to go on. I know you noted earlier that it wasn't granted. They did not ultimately detain him, but there were these two calls, and those should have gone into a black vault. Anything related or shared with the police department on a mental health issue or drug and alcohol, it should have black vaulted. But they got wind. In fact, I think it was Ross Coulthart got wind that The Intercept was about to publish these records, that somehow they had gotten. And at the time, neither Grusch nor Coulthart knew whether or not the intel community had released them, as we have heard time and time again in the history of cases, that when they don't like what someone's doing publicly, they lower the hammer, and that's one way to do it, and scare people off the platform, or if it was someone local in Loudoun County. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happened. I tried so hard to get a copy of the complaint that was filed, and I will get it. I've reached out to the reporter, and oddly enough, I have a family member who lives right there in Loudoun County, and he's going to help.
Oh, wow.
When he gets back in town. And I'll take a look at it and study it, and then I have a better opinion. But I'm thinking now, it looks like Virginia has maybe a 2-year statute of limitations on bringing a tort, and this is a tort. It's a personal injury of sort. So he's probably filing now because he's about to run out of time. But the lawyer in me has to ask, what is this really about? And if he's gotten this behind him, why would he bring this back up now? And so I have to wonder, what's the motivation? Is he trying to pave the way with a swing back for all the whistleblowers we know are waiting in the wings to come out? They're waiting on something. We don't know what or why. Is he just sending a message back to the intel community and the Loudoun County community that I'm not scared of you and I'm not going away and I'm not going to let you get away with it? I'm not sure. And it's going to be really interesting. Here's what I think we need to watch for. Does it settle quietly and go away? If it does, that is probably about Grusch personally and how he feels personally about this. If you don't see this case settle, it's probably about something else. It's probably about who else is out there and letting everybody know the temperature has changed on this and we're not going to put up with it. So that's my 10 cents.
That 10 cents is worth a lot. Now, when you say others, do you mean like other whistleblowers?
I do.
Okay.
I think they're all watching him to see how the government treats him, how the public treats him. And when he made it through the congressional hearings, I think there were several who came out behind him, but then there was a big pause. And I think they're waiting in the wings for something, but I don't have any way to know, what that is.
Yeah. Do you recall with the Intercept article, and I know Ken went on a few shows and kind of told his side of the story, which is always good to get the other side of it instead of just completely villainizing or demonizing someone. He is a journalist.
That's right.
They do have certain protections as well in terms of things. But when things are handled illegally, that's on either the Intercept or, in this case, possibly the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. Do you recall, did we ever get who Klippenstein's, I hope I'm saying that right. I do apologize to him if I'm saying his name wrong. I know people in the chat are like, don't apologize to him.
Yeah.
No, I think everyone's name should always be pronounced properly for accuracy. Did we ever find out any of his sources, or did that kind of remain in the shadows? I don't remember.
No sources, except I will tell you this. When the litigator looks at this, when they started talking about it a year ago or so, when it first was released, that this was about to happen, I think he said publicly, or maybe Ross Coulthart said publicly, that they didn't know whether Intel had leaked or Loudoun County had leaked. And now they've sued Loudoun County. So I'm thinking they figured out their target and they must have something. The other thing that I would tell the group that I think is really important to remember is this strikes me as the kind of lawsuit that you don't swing unless you think you can win it, because this lawsuit is going to rifle itself through the entire intel community and newspaper community's underpants. So, I just don't think that he would take this swing unless he was holding the goods. So let's see.
And I will be completely honest. I have some concerns. Now, a lot of people would view what David Grusch has done coming forward with this stuff, going public, doing this congressional hearing, doing these interviews with, News Nation or whatnot, as a way of becoming like a quote unquote UFO celebrity, like seeing what's there. What can I get from all this? Either notoriety, money, even. I'm not saying that's the case.
Right.
But that always has to be a valid concern. And I guess my concern is, okay, we're at this point now where he's now suing someone because of all this stuff that he has set in motion. Not alone. Like he didn't, I would hope he wasn't a part of taking himself down via the Intercept.
So. Right. I don't think so.
But now, he could possibly win a $2.5 million lawsuit. And I wonder, if he were to win that, will we ever hear from him again? Or is he going to, as Steve Miller would say, take the money and run? What about these 40 witnesses? What about this expose he was supposed to write? So I do have some concerns, but
I do too.
all
And
of
I
this
think it's
is
normal to have
yeah.
those concerns. You really don't know what's going on inside someone's head. I will tell you, I think the $2.5 million addendum, which is what that request is called, I think that's an interesting number.
Yeah.
You've had your mental health records or drug and alcohol records disclosed in a way that's clearly violative of some laws. I'll know more about what Virginia says about those laws shortly, but interesting. Why isn't it 20 million? Why isn't it? So I'm curious about how they're calculating their damages. It'll be interesting. It'll be telling if we ever get that information as well.
Right. It will. Yeah, and maybe we'll get more information in the future. I'm just seeing if let me see here. Anyone is in the chat is asking you anything. Terrence says such thoughtful and great insights from Suzanne. Yes. She's the best. She's the best. Awesome. Well, Suzanne, I'm going to go ahead and finish the night with our podcast highlights.
All right. Back to the chat for me.
So you're going to go back to the chat? I was just going to ask. You can stick around if you want, but if you want to go back to the family.
I'll go back to my friends over there.
Set you loose. I can't thank you enough for
so
agreeing
welcome. I'll keep
to
you
come
posted.
on here. Okay, please do. And
Bye, everybody.
I'll see you in the chat. Thank you,
Okay.
Suzanne.
Bye.
Bye. How awesome was that, guys? Finally. The woman, the myth, the legend, Suzanne. You finally got to meet her. Join us, Suzanne. Says Albert Globe. I love it. All right, guys. An interesting story for sure. We shall see what happens. Grusch is back in the news. So yeah, we shall see. Suffered personally and professionally from the article at The Intercept. Sucks. It sucks that that's what happened with all of this, but it is what it is, and we will see. We shall see. I want to end the live stream tonight, guys, on some positive notes. The first clip, podcast highlight of the week, we're going to play, maybe not so positive, but it does deal with some things that are near and dear to my heart, and that's the witnesses, the experiencers of UFO phenomena, how important they are, how they can often be painted in a very stigmatic light at times. And yeah, this clip was pretty interesting. It comes to us. Let me pull up our last slide here. Podcast highlights of the week. I got to get a theme song for it or something. Little jingle. Get on that, musicians in the chat. Opening it up to the floor. Whoever sends me the best podcast highlights of the week jingle gets it put on podcast highlights of the week when we do them. Email is in the show notes. You could send those to us. Love it. Just created a contest out of thin air. Podcast highlights. This comes to us from the Through Conversations podcast, and you will recognize the face in this first clip. That is Gary Nolan, and he talks about the way Neil deGrasse Tyson handles the UFO topic on television and beyond. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip, and we will get your thoughts on the other side, guys. Give this a watch.
You know, once you start getting into future humans and, you know, interdimensional humans or multiverse humans or multiverse intelligences, I mean, that's just another level beyond, you know, it's imagining technologies that we can't even imagine how to make. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather not go there. I'm perfectly fine if it's true, but I just don't know how to get there. And so, you know, so that in those circumstances, I'd be more likely to credit Neil deGrasse Tyson with saying, well, come on, you know, where I dislike what people like him do is where they diminish the possibility through ridicule, because that's not science. You know, I think what that does is it does a disservice to people who come forward with stories because they have a double trauma. They have the trauma of having seen something they really don't understand and doesn't fit with their worldview. And then they have the trauma of everybody making fun of them and their family, not believing them. Right? And so that's just At best, it's rude. It's just rude. It's coarse. It's inappropriate. It's wrong. It's arrogant and conceited. So, Neil, cut this shit out. Just stop it. It's wrong. You shouldn't do it. You wouldn't want anybody making fun of your ideas like I do on a regular basis these days, but that's just quid pro quo, right? It's like you don't want somebody doing that to you, so don't do it to other people, especially people who are not as conversant in the sciences as you are. I am. Avi is. Both of us are far more accomplished than the likes of him.
Wow. That was a pretty good takedown. I'm not going to lie. Cut the shit. There's no more in your face way of saying it. Wow. I agree with so much of what he said resonated with me. And, I don't really follow the work of Gary Nolan as closely as I'm sure many of you do. Not for any specific reason. I just haven't really looked into a lot of his work yet. But that being said, this double trauma thing really stuck out to me. As you guys know, I've written, 3 books now on UFO experiencers, witnesses, and those who claim everything from, close encounters to abduction experiences. And I too constantly came up with this no term. I think double trauma is a good way of putting it. But I would constantly think and empathize with these individuals of this idea of double trauma, of having this quote unquote ontological shock, as many call it now. But yes, like being so scared or not being able to psychologically or emotionally process what you just experienced, that can be very traumatic, whether it's a paranormal event, a UFO, cryptozoological sighting, up to like a near death experience. Like those things are so powerful and profound and unlike everything we experience on a day-to-day basis, that it can often be very traumatic. And then on top of that, you have to deal with the struggle of, do I tell people? Do I admit what happened to me? Do I know what happened to me? And when you do that, if you do have the courage to do that, to be laughed at, to be ridiculed, to be told, no, you misinterpreted something, you misidentified something, you're fantasy prone, you're making it up. That's traumatizing as well. And I hear this every day. I have hundreds and hundreds of individuals who have given me their accounts at this point, and you can hear it in the witness accounts episodes, how much this affects people, whether positively or negatively. So when you have someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson jokingly saying, oh yeah, you got abducted, why don't you take some video while you're up there on the craft? He's not wrong. That would be nice if they could do that. Where is the video evidence? Where are the photos? Like, show me the beef. Show me the meat. Is that even a saying? I think that came out of nowhere. I'm drinking a 12% beer, guys. I apologize. So yeah. When you have someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson automatically discounting everything you're saying and saying, no, like none of this is real. Like it's impossible for intelligent life to visit here, even with the vast knowledge I have with wormholes and this and that, blah, 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 blah. Nobody knows what we're dealing with when it comes to any of these phenomena. Not the government, not Neil deGrasse Tyson, not Gary Nolan, not me, not you, nobody. Not Stephen Greer, nobody knows what the hell UFOs are or aren't. I can't 100% guarantee that, obviously. Maybe somebody out there knows, but I personally don't feel anyone knows what the heck UFOs are. or any of these anomalous phenomena. So yeah, I thought that was a really interesting clip, and just to teach people to have more empathy when it comes to these individuals and what they bring forward. That was the first thing that my mentor Peter Robbins told me when I first got involved with all this, is you have to have empathy for those you're going to eventually interview. And I hadn't interviewed anyone at that point. I was scared to death to do it. My first ever interview was at age 13. I interviewed a Vietnam veteran and talked to him on the phone for 2 hours. He had a UFO event over the Pacific Ocean during Vietnam of Foo Fighter phenomena with several other witnesses. And it was crazy. It was powerful. It was compelling. It was interesting. It was scary. And here I am, age 13, 1 year after my own personal UFO sighting, interviewing this guy. And I was the first and last person that he ever told about it. He passed away a few months after he told me that story. I was able to get in touch with his son, who would tell me that he passed away, but that he was thankful that I at least listened. And I will carry that with me forever. I was so honored for that. And I could tell that this event weighed on him, some 30, 40, 50 years later. So yeah, these things are powerful. That's for damn sure. And that goes up until today. I still get people saying, I'm afraid to come forward because of this. I'm afraid to come forward because of that. And people like Neil deGrasse Tyson discounting all of these individuals in his smug way on television doesn't help anybody. So look at the actual work being done by Gary Nolan. Look at the work being done by Avi Loeb. Anybody. Those are 2 names out of hundreds that you could look at that are actually doing research in the field of quote unquote ufology, if you even consider that a study. At least they're trying. Neil deGrasse isn't trying because he thinks he knows everything that's going on and what's not going on. So anyways, those are my own moments of anger, frustration when it comes to a lot of that. So yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. Let's go with our last podcast highlight, guys. And this is a more fun, powerful one. And it comes to us from the one and only Chrissy Newton from the Rebelliously Curious podcast over at The Debrief. Now, she recently had on a guest named Julia Mossbridge, PhD, and Julia is a renowned cognitive neuroscientist who has spent years unraveling the complexities of human perception and cognition, particularly in contexts considered taboo and fear. Chrissy asks about what we need to do in the UFO field when it comes to neurodiversity. This is fascinating. I will put a link in the show notes to the full interview that Chrissy conducted, but you can subscribe to the Rebelliously Curious podcast right here on your YouTube as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and play this clip, and we will start to close things out, guys, here at Somewhere in the Live Stream.
How do we go about changing fear and taboo and stigma? Because stigma is obviously a huge part of this. How do we go about doing that within the UFO topic to make it more embraced by the mainstream?
I think we changed the goal. I think the goal of it being more embraced by the mainstream is sort of an old school goal. It's like when all media was centralized and there were only 3 channels that you could watch on TV, there would be a goal of getting whatever your story was onto one of those channels. Right? Things are very different now. So what is the mainstream now? Right? So I think the goal has to be different. I think the goal has to be about discovering where honest surrender to wisdom and truth and goodness and love, unconditional love, can take us. That seems like a good goal, right? And if it's on a good path, naturally more and more people will become interested just because it's on a good path. And there is an urge towards goodness in human beings. So people get inspired by goodness, right? And people want to be a part of it. So just be and do goodness, you know, use love, use faith, use hope, use wisdom. And you see what happens. I mean, look, you know, you will see what happens. It won't be a bad thing, right?
For sure.
Can't be a bad thing.
For sure.
So we just can't be in a hurry to like make everyone believe something. That doesn't work.
I cannot think of a better way to close this out. You know, I get asked all the time, you know, what will it take to convince people that these things are real, that UFOs are real, or what do I hope will convince people that this is real? And I got over that a long time ago. I don't do what I do to try to convince anyone that UFOs are real. They're real. There's no question about that. UFOs have been real since the dawn of time. They're unidentified aerial phenomena. They're real. The questions are, what are they? Where do they come from? Who's in control of them? What do they want? All of those. The hard questions. So I just love how she put this. Like, stay positive. Love, faith, hope, all of it. Like, if we continue to live in the mystery of UFOs, if we continue to find the awe and the wonder in the unknown, then why do we have to care about convincing anyone that these things are real or not? Like, I guess take pride in you knowing that they're real. And, you know, we can have the argument, the debate of knowing, believing, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, UFOs are real. As Stanton Friedman would say, UFOs are real. But now we ask the tougher questions. But we don't have to bite, scratch, claw, argue over those questions. We can have civil debate. We can admit that we don't know what these things are. And we can learn from one another. And this goes for every facet in life. I just thought that was such a touching interview that Chrissy did. I highly, highly suggest people go watch the entire thing. That was like the last few minutes of the interview, but I thought it was a perfect way to sort of wrap things up tonight. So be sure to go check out the Through Conversations podcast with that talk with Gary Nolan. And of course, check out Rebelliously Curious with Chrissy Newton. And on that note, if you haven't watched Chrissy's new television show, you should check that out. That's Alien Encounters. I believe it's on the Discovery Channel, where she's teamed up with Mitch Hedberg, the occultist, and they're doing some awesome work over there, you know, wading through evidence and whatnot of UFO activity. And they do it all in the confines of a bar in the middle of Roswell, New Mexico. So fun, so cool. And they've had some really interesting episodes and evidence brought forward so far on that show. And they're not afraid to call a spade and say that was not a UFO. And they do find explanations for things. So kudos to them for stepping out of the box and doing something new on one of these shows. Because we all know, I know specifically, that a lot of these shows can just all be the same rigmarole. But yeah, be sure to check out Alien Encounters as well with Chrissy Newton and Mitch Horowitz. Did I say Mitch Hedberg earlier? That's a comedian. If I did accidentally say that, oops, I meant Mitch Horowitz. Mitch, I really hope you're not watching this, man. If so, I apologize, buddy. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go up into the chat one more time, guys, and then we're going to close things out with what is coming up with me and the podcast and all that good stuff. Let me see here. I recommend everyone take a look at Kaku, Tyson Krause, and Sabine. Yeah, I mean, everyone deserves to have a voice in all of this. It's when you try to shutter or silence the voices of those actually experiencing the phenomena. That's what I have a problem with. And that's something that Tyson does pretty often. Robert Chafee says, we need to come together and study the field. We need to know who's visiting us and if they are friend or foe. We all have a right to know and protect ourselves. I do agree with that. We do have a right to know. Will we ever know, though? I don't think so. And if we do, it's going to be on the Phenomenon's schedule. I've said this a million times. Don't expect a government to ever tell you. It's just not going to happen, in my personal opinion. Jeffrey says, podcasts are the new mainstream. Legacy media is dead. Boom. That is a call to arms. Podcasters unite. Hello to Mindfort. Great to see you here. Dennis, don't get trapped in my eyes. There's no way out. Trust me. I've tried. Metal Hendrix says, when the power of love overcomes the love of power. I love that. Sorry, Metal. When I first saw your message, I thought you were doing the lyrics to The Power of Love by Huey Lewis in the News. That's why I laughed. But you actually said a really nice thing, and I agree with you. Ian says, now is the time to bring back Mulder and Scully. Well, apparently we're getting a reboot of the X-Files, but I don't think Mulder and Scully are going to be the focal point. They might be featured, maybe, but we are apparently getting a reboot of the X-Files a lot sooner than many think. Keep your eyes open for that, along with Spielberg's UFO movie. All right. Pine Cedar is here. I don't think I said hello to you yet. Pat Gallagher is here as well. Welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So let's close things out, guys. Once again, I do want to let you know that the speaker list for Anomicon 2024 is gradually being released over on our website, and it is awesome. I am so freaking excited about this year's Anomicon event. If you are not familiar with Anomicon, this is a virtual free conference that I founded and put on last year to huge success. So I decided to do it again this year, where you're going to see over 24 speakers talking about everything from Bigfoot to aliens, UFOs, ghosts, paranormal, witchcraft, psychics, dreams, everything you can possibly think of. We will cover it, all things anomalous, at Anomicon 2024. And if you haven't already, you can check out every single presentation from Anomicon 2023. All of them are now available right here on YouTube if you are watching this on YouTube. And you can head on over to the website to watch all of those. And you can look at our current speaker list that is still growing at the website as well. And Suzanne has it up on the screen for you guys. If you're just listening, that is anomicon.com. Again, that's anomicon.com. Coming to you September 1st and September 2nd, right here on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Twitter. And I'm just calling it Twitter. So, dropping tonight on all the main podcast feeds is our awesome interview with Earl Grey Anderson, the state director of Southern California for MUFON. The episode is titled Confessions of a UFO Investigator. We talked for almost 2 hours all about his investigations with MUFON, what got him interested in the topic of UFOs, his personal experiences with anomalous phenomena, the recent MUFON symposium where anomalous debris was tested and then presented at the symposium. that is pretty interesting. It was awesome. It was awesome. That was one of the live ones that we did. So if you want to watch the video version of this podcast episode, you can watch it right now in the playlist of live streams right here on the YouTube channel. But that will be available in audio format to you guys in just a couple hours. So be on the lookout for that on all podcast apps. If you're not subscribed, why not? You should. You should do that. Do that right now. Look into my eyes. This is going to take a little bit more convincing for some of you and hypnotizing, I guess. I have a wrestling podcast, and I would love for you to subscribe to it. We have more live stream viewers right now than we've had in a really long time. And if every single one of you went over to our YouTube channel and subscribed, we would love that so much. My co-host and I, Andrew Sanford, my very good friend from New York. And we host a wrestling podcast about pro wrestling, WWE, all of that stuff. Wrestling is hotter than ever right now, guys. And now is the time to get interested in it. For those of you who never gave it a second thought, I think and hope that we can win you over. And I think you will enjoy Somewhere in the Ring. You can learn more at somewhereinthering.com. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel right here. Just type in Somewhere in the Ring podcast, or subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get podcasts, wherever you get Somewhere in the Skies. We have some awesome interviews over there where we just talked to the actor who plays Art the Clown in the Terrifier movies. It's not for everyone, but if you are familiar with the Terrifier horror franchise, David is a friend of mine, a colleague. We used to work together in New York, and he is becoming a horror icon. I mean, you go to horror cons and people are dressed as him. And yeah, we had the opportunity to have him on the show to talk about Doink the Clown from the WWE. So that was super fun. We have an episode coming up this week with the owner of Defy Wrestling, which is an independent wrestling promotion in the Pacific Northwest. But they have worked with some of the top talent. They their first match ever in Defy Wrestling was Cody Rhodes, who is the now current WWE Undisputed Champion, and he faced Swerve Strickland, who is the current AEW World Champion. So talk about having a good first match for your independent wrestling company. So we talked to Jim Perry, the owner of Defy Wrestling, all about how he got interested, started the company, what it's like owning a wrestling company, and where the wrestling world is today. So yeah, be sure to subscribe to that wherever you get podcasts, or check it out at somewhereinthering.com. And yeah, that's going to do it, guys. So again, I want to thank Suzanne for finally coming on the show and giving us her awesome insights on the David Grusch lawsuit. Hopefully she will have more information as the days trickle forward about the complaint and the lawsuit itself. So yeah, be on the lookout for more information on that. And yeah, check out everything we're doing at somewhereintheskies.com. And I just want to thank you guys. This has been an extremely fun, I guess, episode this week, and we covered so much. And this will be available on the podcast this upcoming Wednesday if you want to come back and listen and reminisce about what we talked about. So be on the lookout for that as well. And I will leave you guys as always. Before I forget. Wow. Before I forget. Where did it go? There it is. Nope. Thank you again to our super chatters, super stickers, James Craig, Ian Smith again, Disclosure Team, and Jim. Truly, truly appreciate that support, guys. And yeah, that's going to do it for Somewhere in the Live Stream. I will leave you with our mantra as always. Take it with you, carry it everywhere you go in your pocket, and be sure to share it with all of your friends and family. And that is, keep your feet on the ground, but never stop searching somewhere in the skies. Have a good night and keep looking up.
nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.